In 1939, this man signed a letter. Just a letter, 2 pages, warning the President of the United States that a new kind of weapon might be possible. 6 years later, 2 cities were gone, and he spent the rest of his life calling that signature the one great mistake he ever made. I brought Albert Einstein to 2026, and I didn't show him our phones or our rockets or the fact that we proved him right about almost everything. I showed him the thing we're building right now, artificial intelligence. And I watched the blood drain from his face. Because he's seen this before. The excitement, the race, the brilliant people promising it'll change the world, while quietly warning it might end it. And here's the thing about the day I spent with Albert Einstein. He barely said a word. He watched. He studied. He let me show him a world he never lived to see, and he stayed almost completely silent through all of it, until the very end, when he turned to me and said 5 words I have not been able to get out of my head since. I'll tell you exactly what he said, but if I tell you now, it won't mean anything, because you have to understand what this man carried in with him first. So stay with me. The 5 words are worth it. Now, if this is the first one of these you've seen, yes, that's really him. And no, I'm not going to fully explain the how. The short version, I built a temporal bridge, a doorway between his time and ours. I reach back, I pull someone forward for a day, and when we're done, they go home with their memory of it intact. That's the whole channel. I find the people history actually turned on, and I show them what we did with the world they left behind. Here's what you have to know about the man standing next to me. And here's where almost everyone gets it wrong. Ask most people, and they'll tell you Albert Einstein built the atomic bomb, that his famous equation, E equals mc squared, was basically the blueprint, that he's the father of the thing that leveled 2 cities. None of that is true. Einstein never worked on the bomb. He wasn't in the lab. He wasn't on the Manhattan Project at all. In fact, the US government considered him a security risk and denied him the clearance to even be near it. What he actually did was sign 1 letter. In 1939, terrified that Nazi Germany might build such a weapon first, he put his name on a warning to President Roosevelt, a letter a younger physicist named Leo Szilard had largely drafted. Einstein's signature gave it the weight to be taken seriously, and it was. So no, he didn't design the bomb. His equations simply explained why the energy was there to be unleashed, and his name on a page helped open the door. He lit the fuse. He didn't build the explosive. And that distinction, that he set something in motion he could never take back, is the thing that haunted him for the rest of his life. Because when those bombs fell in 1945, something in him broke. He spent his final 10 years campaigning against nuclear weapons, warning anyone who would listen. He once said that if he'd known the Germans wouldn't succeed, he'd never have lifted a finger. This is a man who learned too late that you cannot unknow a thing, that once the idea exists, it belongs to everyone, the people who use it carefully and the people who won't. So I didn't bring him here to be amazed by 2026. I brought him here because we're standing at the exact same kind of moment he stood at, and I wanted to see if he'd recognize it. He did, and there was one specific word I said, about an hour in, that made him go completely pale. I'll tell you which word. First, I wanted to show him something good, something joyful, because before the wait, this man deserved to see how right he was. I showed him GPS, and explained the satellites have to correct for the fact that time runs differently up there, exactly the way his relativity predicted. He laughed, an actual delighted laugh. I showed him a photograph of a black hole, a real one, the thing his equations insisted had to exist, that he himself was never fully sure was real. He went quiet and just stared. I showed him the gravitational wave detectors, us catching two black holes colliding a billion light years away by measuring a ripple in space smaller than a proton, a prediction he made in 1916 and assumed no one could ever confirm. Everywhere he looked, the universe had agreed with him. For a few minutes, it was pure joy. And that's exactly why what happened next hit so hard. Because I let him believe, for a little while, that 2026 was a world that had simply proven him right and moved on. Then I showed him what we do now with the kind of power he understood better than anyone. I sat him down in front of a computer, and I let him talk to an artificial intelligence, an AI, the kind of system that, in 2026, can write, reason, code, and hold a conversation like a person. He typed a question, in German to test it. The AI answered him, instantly, fluently. He typed something harder, a physics problem. It worked through it. He sat back, and I could see him doing the thing he did best, not reacting to the surface, but reaching for the principle underneath. What is this? What does it mean? What does it become? So I told him the truth about it. I said, there are brilliant people in companies and labs all over the world racing to make this artificial intelligence as powerful as they possibly can, as fast as they possibly can. Because if they don't, someone else will. And there it was, that word, race. The moment I said it, race, he stopped me. He held up a hand. Because that's the word that ended his world the first time. It's the exact logic he used in 1939. Build it first, because the other side might. He looked at the screen, at the AI still waiting there for his next question, then at me. And he asked, carefully, the way you ask a question you already dread the answer to, whether the people building this artificial intelligence were also the ones warning about it. I said yes, the same people. Often in the same sentence. And his face changed in a way I'm not sure I can describe, because he knew that sentence. He'd lived inside that sentence for the last decade of his life. So I didn't hand him a stack of research. I didn't explain the politics. I just pulled up one sentence, a real one, from a public statement signed by some of the most respected AI scientists alive today. And I asked him to read it out loud. He put on his glasses, and because I asked him to, he read it out loud, slowly, reciting someone else's words, not yet his own. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority. Then he stopped. He read it again under his breath, just the first part, risk of extinction. He looked at me to check he'd understood the English correctly. I nodded. And here's the part I wasn't ready for. He didn't look frightened. He looked recognized, like he'd just run into an old acquaintance in the worst possible place, because he knew exactly what that sentence was. He'd written its ancestor. In 1939, a handful of the smartest people on Earth quietly told a government, this is possible, and it could be catastrophic, and we may not have the luxury of refusing to build it. 87 years later, here was the same warning, written by the same kind of people about the thing they themselves were building, and this time printed for the whole world to read. His letter was a secret whispered to one president. This one is a warning shouted to everyone. And somehow that made it worse for him, not better. Whatever he was about to say, he was saving it. I wanted to give him something hopeful. So I told him the part that's different this time. I said, in your day, 3 people knew what was coming, and the public found out when the cities were already gone. This time, the warnings are public. They're happening before, not after. People are arguing about it out loud right now, while there's still time to choose. He considered that. And for the first time all day, I saw something I think was hope. Cautious, guarded, but there. And then he did the thing I promised you at the very start. The thing he hadn't done once all day. He spoke. He looked at the warning he'd read out loud, the one about extinction. Then he looked at the race still going full speed right beside it. And in that thick, quiet accent, the smartest man of the last century broke his silence to ask me 5 words. Why do they keep going? That's it. That's all he said. After a full day of silence, that's the only thing he needed to say out loud. And that's the whole thing. That's the question he spent the last 10 years of his own life asking about his own work. And here it was again, waiting for him in 2026, completely unanswered. I didn't have a good answer, because the honest one is the same as it was in 1939. Because we can. Because someone else might. Because the door, once it's open, does not close. It was time for him to go back to 1955, back before the internet, before the detectors proved him right, back to a world still smoking from the thing his letter helped start. He saw us prove his universe correct in ways he never dreamed, and then he saw us standing at the foot of the same mountain he'd already climbed, making, I hope, slightly different choices, out loud this time, in the open, while there's still room to choose. He didn't leave me with a warning. He didn't lecture. After a whole day of silence, the man who watched his own discovery become the most destructive force in history left me with 5 quiet words and a small, tired nod. Like someone who's seen this exact movie before and is praying we wrote it a better ending. He didn't unknow the bomb. We can't unknow artificial intelligence either. The only thing we get to decide is what we do while the door is still open. I brought Albert Einstein to 2026 to see if the future learned anything from his greatest regret. I think the honest answer is, we're finding out right now. So here's the one I'll leave you with. If the smartest people building the future are also the ones afraid of it, who exactly is supposed to decide what happens next? If this one got you thinking, hit like and subscribe. Some videos are for fun. This one I just needed you to see. And the next one, I promise, has way fewer existential consequences. Let's see who I pull out of history next.